Welcome to State of the Offense, your unbiased coverage of your favorite team's offense, the Minnesota Vikings. With an offense as talented as Minnesota's, I believe that Viking fans should continue to have very high expectations going into the 2023 season. Last year, the Vikings finished 7th in total offense, 5th in passing, 27th in rushing, and 7th in scoring, which earned them a 13-4 record, an NFC North title, and a loss in the wild card round. In the skill positions, Minnesota has two major changes. Longtime starters Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen have moved on, and Alexander Mattison and Jordan Addison are expected to fill their roles. Most fantasy football shows will only mention skill players, but at State of the Offense, we look at the entire offense. We start in the trenches by analyzing the condition of the offensive line. On the offensive line, the Vikings will bring back all of their starters from last season. Christian Darrisaw returns at left tackle for his third season in town. Darrisaw graded at an 80 in 14 games played, and he had a 74.3% snap share. His 80 grade places him in the 18 to 20 range of left tackles going into the year. Darrisaw was a 2021 first rounder, so the Vikings will likely keep him under contract through at least 2025. Left guard Ezra Cleveland is back for his fourth season in Minnesota. He graded at a 74 in 17 games played, and he also played 100% of the snaps. His grade ranks him in the 14 to 16 range of left guards. Cleveland is in a contract year. Garrett Bradbury is back for his fifth season with the team at center. Bradbury graded at a 77 in 12 games played with a 73.8% snap share. His 77 grade placed him in the 11 to 14 range of centers in the game. Bradbury is under contract through 2025. Right guard Ed Ingram played in all 17 games and had 100% snap share as a rookie. He graded at a 68, which projects him in the 26 to 27 range for NFL right guards. Second-year linemen usually make a jump from their rookie performances. Darrisaw, Cleveland, and Bradbury all rated better in their second seasons with the Vikings. Right tackle Brian O'Neill is projected to return for training camp from an Achilles injury that he suffered in Week 17. In the 16 games he played, O'Neill was the Vikings' best offensive lineman with an 86 grade. He ranked as the number 4 right tackle in football. He is under contract through the 2026 season. His backup, Osameka Udo, started in Week 18 and in the playoff game in his absence. The Vikings have a young and talented offensive line, with all 5 starters having been first or second round draft picks by the club. Phil Rauscher, who was promoted to offensive line coach, has been with the group since 2020. The continuity of this group should help the offense remain productive. Quarterback Kirk Cousins may not have won the MVP like Michael Irvin predicted in the preseason, but Minnesota could do much worse at the position than the very reliable Cousins. By most accounts, 2022 was similar to his previous 4 seasons as a Viking. 2022 saw a bump in passing yards, but completion percentage, yards per attempt, touchdowns, interceptions, sacks allowed, and quarterback rating all went in the wrong direction from 2021. Cousins is a free agent after the 2023 season, so it will be interesting to see if the Vikings are willing to invest in the 34-year-old veteran much longer. In fantasy football, Cousins was the quarterback 5 in total points and the quarterback 8 in points per game. Rock solid as always. Fantasy drafters are undervaluing him a little, as he is currently the quarterback 11 drafted with an average draft position of 102. Kirk Cousins as a 9th round pick is a great strategy if you like waiting on quarterbacks in your drafts. With the passing targets he has at his disposal, there is no reason to think that he will decline by much, if at all. I personally don't wait on quarterbacks, but I like having a guy like Cousins as my quarterback too. Justin Jefferson is an absolute superstar. Since the time he arrived in the NFL, he's been elite, and his numbers keep getting better. He was the wide receiver 1 in total points and only trailed Cooper Kupp in wide receiver points per game. Jefferson is not only the first wide receiver drafted, but currently on ESPN, he is also the number 1 overall pick. It is hard to argue with the results Justin Jefferson provides. He has been durable, consistent, and productive, which every fantasy player wants from week to week in their lineup. I advise that if you have the number 1 overall pick at 24 and 25, that you pair a quarterback or running back or an elite tight end with him. Jalen Hurts, Travis Etienne, Najee Harris, and Mark Andrews are all guys that are available at 24 and 25. That would be very nice compliments to Justin Jefferson with your second and third round picks. The Vikings allowed Adam Thielen to sign with Carolina this spring. His numbers have been steady but declining ever since Justin Jefferson arrived. Whether keeping Thielen with Cousins and Jefferson was advisable or not remains to be seen, but the Vikings decided to surround Justin Jefferson with a young complement with their first round pick, with Jordan Addison from USC with the 24th overall pick. Addison is a small receiver with a good skill level and okay athleticism. The fact that the other three options on the team have been around and have been very productive does not force the Vikings to start Addison if he's not ready as a rookie. Addison is currently the wide receiver 43 drafted at pick 112, which is a 10th rounder. Wide receiver 43 is pretty reasonable. He can produce in that tier where he resides on the draft board, so if you believe in him, take a chance. If he's your fourth wide receiver on fantasy rosters, he may end up helping you during the season. KJ Osborne will be Addison's main competition for targets. Osborne was the wide receiver 42 in points and wide receiver 54 as the Vikings number 3 last year. Osborne is currently the wide receiver 65, pick 168, and he goes in the 14th round. There's a fairly reasonable chance that Jefferson, Hockenson, and Osborne take Thielen's production over. KJ Osborne is getting drafted 4 rounds after Jordan Addison and is an excellent value. Last year, this is how Adam Thielen and KJ Osborne stacked up against each other. Receptions, Thielen 70, Osborne 60. Targets, Thielen 107, Osborne 90. Yards, Thielen 716, Osborne 650. Touchdowns, Thielen 6, Osborne 5. Even if Addison takes Thielen's spot and Osborne's role is unchanged, I still think that Osborne going 4 rounds later is a better deal. The Vikings midseason trade for tight end TJ Hockenson surprised many people around the league because in-division trades are very rare in the NFL. In 10 games with the Vikings, he provided production at the position that Irv Smith never did. Year 4 for Hockenson was the best of his career, and he is entering his prime at 25. Hockenson is playing under his 5th-year option, and he will be a free agent after the season. Hawk was the tight end 3 in total points and tight end 4 in points per game in 2022. His draft position is tight end 3, player 44 in the 4th round. The expectations are sky high for TJ going into his first full year as a Viking. He is going 7 spots before George Kittle, 8 spots before Darren Waller, 24 picks ahead of Dallas Goedert, and 28 spots before Kyle Pitts. While I believe that TJ may end up finishing as the tight end 2 this year, I'm not totally comfortable with drafting him before George Kittle or 2+ rounds earlier than either Dallas Goedert or Kyle Pitts. The tier after Kelsey, which are the tight ends 2 through 7, are relatively close in my opinion. The only top 7 tight end that I'm not really high on this year is Darren Waller. So Andrews, Hockenson, Kittle, Goddard, and Pitts make up my tier 2 through 6 at the tight end position. I think that drafting Dallas Goedert is probably more sensible 2 rounds later. In dynasty formats, if you can trade for Hockenson, it's a smart move, but it will cost you plenty. The Dalvin Cook era at running back in Minnesota is officially over now. The Vikings released Cook with the expectation that Alexander Mattison is ready to be the running back 1 on the team. I'm not as sure about that as the Vikings front office is. Cook outpaced Mattison 4.4 to 3.8, and he was much better receiving back. Dalvin was the running back 9 and running back 13 in average points. Mattison was running back 48 in points and running back 69 in points per game. The Vikings have been preparing for this eventual Cook departure as they have drafted a running back for 3 consecutive years with Kene Nwangu, Ty Chandler, and Dwayne McBride. Nwangu and Chandler are both speedy backs, while McBride is more of a physical runner. Last year, Dalvin Cook outcarried Alexander Mattison 264 to 74. He out-targeted Mattison 56 to 18. I expect a drop off from Cook to Madison, and I expect the workload to be more evenly shared with Ty Chandler, Kene Nwangu, and Dwayne McBride. Madison is getting drafted at the running back 32 at position 99, which is a 9th round pick, but his value is going up. Just since the time that Dalvin Cook was released, Madison is up 47 spots in draft position. I'm not excited about the possibilities of Madison yet. I know that the other 3 backs have talent, so I just don't see Dalvin Cook-like production from anyone in the Minnesota backfield this year. None of the backups are getting drafted yet, but everyone should pay attention to the training camp battle at running back because a sleeper may emerge from this group. The Vikings have all the players in the passing game to score plenty of fantasy points. Kirk Cousins is consistently underrated. Justin Jefferson is probably the number 1 overall pick. TJ Hawkinson is projected to be the tight end 3 this year. The year-after-year fantasy production of Dalvin Cook and Adam Thielen brings some unpredictability to the Vikings offense for the first time in a while. I'm higher on KJ Osborne and Kene Nwangu more than just about anyone else. I'm not sold on Alexander Mattison and Jordan Addison yet. There's plenty of hype behind their names right now. I think that they are probably getting overdrafted a bit. 2022 was a great year at times for the Vikings. 13-4 in a division championship are nothing to sneeze at with a first-year head coach. The scary thing about 2022, though, to me, is the fact that 11 of their 13 wins were by 8 points or less. The law of averages dictate, and the likely improvement of Chicago and Detroit will probably make the 2023 season much harder to win the NFC North than it was last year. The Vikings are good enough to win the division for a second year in a row, and they may be able to make more of a dent in the playoffs. If the close games go against you, though, this season, a 7 or 8 win season is very possible as well. If you like today's coverage of the Minnesota Vikings offense, please hit the like button and subscribe to the channel.